Hello, welcome, amigas, amigos, amigues. Welcome to Self-Care Redefined, Creating Your Financial Legacy, presented by We All Grow and Nationwide. My name is Vanessa Santos. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the partner and CEO of We All Grow. For those of you who are unfamiliar, at We All Grow, we ignite the voices and dreams of Latinas through the power of community rooted in friendships. Our mission is to illuminate the path of growth, cultivating a collective sense of belonging that emboldens Latinas to tap into their fullest potential with joy and well-being as our compass. Our holistic approach of heal, commune, and grow nurtures safe spaces where women can thrive at their own pace throughout all seasons of their life. Because when one grows, we all grow. So just a few housekeeping notes before we begin today's incredible virtual event. You are in for a treat. For safety, your mics and cameras are disabled during the duration of the event because our intent is to always create a safe space for all. So please check out our community gathering principles, which are going to be shared in the chat right now by our incredible team. For those amigas, amigues, and amigos who require ASL interpretation, you can enable closed captions by clicking on the CC button at the bottom of the screen. This conversation is being recorded and will be shared later, so stay tuned because we want to make sure that you can come back to it over and over again. And we will reserve time for Q&A so that please type in your questions because we want to make sure we support you throughout this conversation. And of course, we encourage you to share your favorite moments or takeaways from today's conversation by tagging at We All Grow Latina and at Nationwide on Instagram. I am absolutely honored and delighted that we've partnered with Nationwide as they are truly committed to creating a better future for us through their dedication to community, giving, and empowerment. When we manage our finances effectively, research has shown that a reduction in financial stress helps our physical and mental well-being. And today, we'll explore how cultivating and creating financial wellness is an integral part of a holistic self-care journey. And that's what we're all about, and we love it. Now, I am so pleased and honored to introduce my dear, incredible partner, Ana Flores, to share her medicine with us and set the tone for today's event.
I always love being in any room that you are going to be in, Vanessa, because you light it up. Thanks so much. Thanks to each and every one of you for making the choice. This is a choice to log in today and to share a special moment together. And our life's journey are made up of our choices. Every time we gather, we know that a ripple effect happens that impacts beyond this virtual room. It's such an honor that Nationwide invited me to share with you my thoughts on a topic that is really near and dear to mi corazoncito, the transformative power of self-care. So I see pioneers and legacy builders in this room, and I believe that we, as pioneers and legacy builders, are the architects of our own dreams. Those visionaries who dare to shape the world around us. But often, here's the hard truth, in our relentless pursuit of success, we neglect the most important foundation of all, our own well-being. Does that ring true to you at this moment? I'd love for you to share. So I want to kick things off by asking you a question. What if we could transform the relentless hustle that's been dominating our lives, you know, that constant state of stress and competition, and turn it into a journey fueled by purpose and passion, where success is measured not by how exhausted we are, but by the depth of inner peace and alignment that we feel. Amigas, self-care is not just about that occasional indulgence or the latest wellness trend, although that's cool. It is the ultimate act of self-preservation. It's a radical commitment to honoring our most precious resource, our energy, our creativity, our very essence. So imagine that. Imagine tapping into an endless well of creativity and strength, leading with both our brilliant minds and our big, beautiful hearts in this beautiful connection. Now, doesn't that sound infinitely more empowering than constantly trying to live up to everyone else's expectations? Like, who can do that? So far too often, we've been conditioned to believe that success and fulfillment can only be achieved through constant hustle, through sacrifice, the relentless pursuit of external validation, quote unquote, girl boss. We've been told that our worth is tied to our productivity, our appearance, and our ability to conform to societal expectations. And I know the struggle all too well, and I'll bet you do too. As daughters of immigrants, so many of us have felt that intense pressure to excel in our careers and make our families proud. And heck, I know I'm still working on getting my own parents to fully understand and support the path that I've chosen and continue to choose. And I've even caught myself passing the belief of pushing through it all at all cost to my daughter at a moment when she started a new school in 6th grade that was so different from what she had experienced in her primary education that it was a complete shock to her nervous system. And for the first time, I saw my daughter lost her love of learning, and she would come home crying every time we would pick her up. She was in complete distress. And I kept telling her to hang on because it would get better. But the reality was that it didn't. And then one night, she finally got the courage to beg me, Mami, por favor, homeschool me. Pensé que estaba loca. She had the emotional maturity to discern the reality was, right? That she had the emotional maturity to discern that this was not the right learning and social environment for her essence. And my initial reaction was that if it was not even a consideration, how was I going to homeschool her? And in an attempt to soothe her from the words that I knew, I said to her, Está bien, you'll get used to it. And then I realized that with those words, so many of us have heard growing up, I was conditioning her to accept stress as a constant in her life, just to get ahead and conform to the way things are done. She was asking me to help her find a better way, because that's what I had always modeled for her. We can always find the path of least resistance that can also provide the most joy, abundance, and ease. And that's the legacy I had already instilled in her. So within a week, I pulled her out of school and she began online homeschooling, coincidentally, just 6 months before the pandemic lockdown. My daughter recognizing and standing up for her needs taught me the huge lesson of looking at all the spaces in my life where I had normalized stress and hustle and allowed them to define me. And you know what? I realized that being a Latina entrepreneur is all about breaking free from those constraints and redefining success on our own terms. It's about pursuing what sets our souls on fire, even if it means bucking societal norms. Y el qué dirán. And yeah, it takes guts, but that's where the magic happens, amigas. You see, after many, many of my own crash and burn moments, I realized that for us, leading in business and life has to be rooted in self-care and our divine feminine essence. We cannot afford to disconnect from that. In fact, pouring into our own cups has to be priority number one, so we can keep showing up as our best, most aligned selves for us, for our teams, and for our communities. It does, in fact, take conscious effort and work. And let's not forget about financial wellness that we're here today to speak about. When we take control of our money and align it with our values, it unlocks a whole new level of freedom and abundance. It's not just about numbers and spreadsheets. It's about honoring the sacredness of our resources and using them to fuel our visions and the legacy we're creating as the ancestors will become. So, my invitation to all of us today is to dive headfirst into this journey of disengaging from the hustle culture and embracing rest, ease, and abundant success on your own terms as the ultimate act of self-care and prosperity for generations to come. Breaking cycles is never easy, but I promise you, it's going to be so worth it. So tell me, are you with me? Let's get this done. Thank you.
Oh, I'm with you. I'm there.
I know you are.
It's a journey, conscious effort. It takes guts, managing your stress so that you don't project that and for it not to spill in other areas of your life. It really takes conscious effort. So thank you for that beautiful message. It resonates with all of us. It's what really continues to light the fire in us to continue to grow, to build, and to manage what ease means for us, because ease doesn't always mean easy, but it's possible and doable as long as you understand your own personal values. And I'm just so excited to continue this conversation because we're going to be dropping some gems. So who is ready to get started? I am. I hope you are excited to hear from our incredible panelists. I'm really happy to introduce our speakers for today's virtual event, who are going to share their knowledge and wisdom with us, shedding light on the unspoken aspects of self-care that we should all really consider in our journeys, because each of our journeys are unique. But who doesn't want to take care of themselves to the fullest extent? It's not always possible and available, but there's so many things that we can do, and that's what we're going to discuss today. So I'm thrilled to bring to the stage Yaneli Espinal and Erika Estrada for a beautiful conversation. And I'm going to allow each of you to also introduce yourselves, because it would be beautiful for the community to hear about you, your beautiful story, before we get into the questions that we know people really want answers to. Yaneli, tell us about you.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm so excited to be here. As Vanessa said, my name is Yaneli Espinal, and I am an author. I wrote a book called Mind Your Money that was published last year in 2023. And I'm also the director of educational outreach at NGPF, which is an organization that promotes financial literacy education in every public high school in America. And I also work as an advocate for laws that will require financial literacy to be taught as a full semester course for high school graduation. It's the class that we all wish we had taken when we were in high school. So I get to work with lawmakers, with governors, with, senators and representatives to bring these laws forward and get them signed so that we can actually make change. And I'm Dominican American. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. I saw we have some Brooklyn in the chat, and I live in Miami, Florida now. So I get to be a little bit of everywhere. I get to be a little bit down south, also a little bit in the Northeast with my family. And I really love personal finance, because I made so many mistakes with money when I was in my early 20s, with credit card debt, without savings, and really I didn't have any guidance. And so to be able to discover my own path to financial literacy, and also to being in a place that I feel finally like I'm financially well, like I can give to others now, it's a beautiful place. And I want that for every single woman. I want that for every Latina. I want that for everyone to have that confidence when it comes to money. So I'm really excited for today's conversation.
Well, thank you, Yaneli. Mi tocaya, Dominican from New York, represent where our New Yorkers at. I love that. And thank you for choosing to share your lessons, because so often we look back at our mistakes and then we have shame. And I think the beautiful thing about your journey and the conversation that we're going to have with you and Erika, that's all about embracing those lessons and understanding that they're part of our story. But you being here today is signaling a choice to the universe that you know that you want to do better, and you're here to learn, and you're going to learn. So thank you, Yaneli. Erika, please tell us about your beautiful, glorious self.
Hi, yes, my name is Erika. I am from Southern California. I am Mexican American, and I am a life insurance advisor at Nationwide. I'm really excited to be able to answer your guys' questions and kind of give you a little insight on life insurance.
I'm down for that, because I have tons of questions. So I'm really excited to hear from you, especially because when we think of self-care practices, we think of skincare routine, we think of exercising, or we think about treating ourselves to a nice little spa date. But true self-care is really about nurturing all aspects of our well-being, including our financial health. So why is this broader perspective on self-care so important, especially for Latina professionals and entrepreneurs? And Erika, I'd love to start with you.
Yeah. So self-care is often associated with physical and mental health, but should also include financial well-being, as financial stress can significantly impact your overall health and happiness. I mean, we have a lot of responsibilities and expectations to our families, and balancing these pressures with personal financial stability is vital to our overall health. I mean, how many times have we stayed awake at night because we're like, how are we going to pay our bills, you know? So it's very important, a topic.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
definitely. Oh my goodness, Eric, I couldn't have said it better myself. I think for me personally, I always think about where Latinas fall in terms of in relation to like other other fellow Latina women professionals besides Latinas. And I always am reminded, unfortunately, it breaks my heart to see the statistics that Latina working professionals are the furthest away from the earning potential that is told to us that is the American dream, to come here and to be able to create wealth. And yet when it comes to the wealth gap, and we look specifically at the gender wealth gap, Latinas are furthest away, right? The gap is so wide for Latinas, which means that we have so much to catch up to, right? In terms of our other working peer women. And to me, that means less generational wealth that we're able to pass down to our children. It means that we are not only having to do for more people, right, for our children and also for our parents, but we have to do that with less. So to me, it's like specifically for Latinas, the conversation of financial wellness and financial health is so critical. And especially now more than ever, because what we're starting to see now today is that back in the day, previous generations, they had an opportunity to get what's called a pension. The pension was amazing. You just work for this company for 30 years and then they will take care of you for your whole retirement. Yeah, those pensions are sort of a thing of the past now. Your future and your retirement is completely dependent upon you. And so we're in a place where things are shifting and we have to be more financially independent, and yet we're not being taught how finances work. So to me, I think Latinas are in a very unique position where we have to really wear it as a badge of honor. Like, I don't like to see it as like a chore or a task or, you know, like a challenge. If anything, to me, I see this as a badge of honor that I get to be the one in my family that gets to navigate this. And then I get to go bring it back to mommy and papi and to my sisters and brothers and to my primas. And I'm the one that, yes, I have to sort of be the first to navigate it and to figure it out. But man, when I do, how amazing it feels to be able to create a ripple effect to go back to my family and bring it back. So I want to bring that to you as a call to action. Don't see that this conversation is scary, but if anything, see it as like your badge of honor, that you get to be the one to bring this to your community and to your people.
Absolutely. It is an invitation, Yaneli. So thank you for inviting us to have this discussion, because we can choose what we inherit. We can choose what we decide to take on as baggage, what we decide to take on as a lesson. And looking at self-care is meant to be holistic because there's so many aspects of it. It's not linear, the way that growth is not linear, the way that financials and finances aren't linear. So what does that look and feel like for us, especially when you consider the cultural aspect? Because growing up Latina, especially for those that are first generation, if you're first generation like me, drop it in the chat, because we really could truly write a book on what these experiences feel like for us. And growing up in those environments really put us in a position to juggle multiple roles. So as we juggle multiple roles and responsibilities, financial stresses will undoubtedly impact and can impact our overall wellness and peace of mind. I've been there. What are some meaningful practices that you would recommend for prioritizing financial self-care as a radical act of self-love and fortifying our holistic well-being? I love this question because we've been sitting on what does radical self-love look like while we're juggling multiple realities. We're existing in a world that there's so much happening and coming at us. So how do you put into place some meaningful practices? I'll start with you, Yaneli, because we got the energy going.
All right, let's do it. You know, I think, first of all, if you haven't clicked on the worksheet, I highly recommend to click it, because the first thing on the worksheet, if you scroll through it, is actually what I'm going to recommend that you do, which is to define it for yourself, right? The first question on the worksheet is, what does self-care mean to you? Now, I want to switch that question up a little bit to you and ask, what does financial health mean to you? Because for me, financial health could look like and sound like and feel like something totally different from my best friend, from my sister, from my mom. And financial health it's so personal. What does it look like for you? So the first step is to define it. You need a clear definition of your vision for yourself when you are at the highest, most financially healthy that you could be. What does your life look like? What does that feel like for you when you wake up every day and you are the most financially healthy you've ever been? And that's what I want you to write down, like really live in that, in financial health. Because when you define it very clearly for yourself, you're going to know right away everything that aligns with your vision of financial health, and everything that doesn't align. It becomes so much easier to just say no to things that maybe you used to be like, oh, no, I have to do this. I have to spend money on this, and that. And then all of a sudden you have this moment of clarity and you're like, no, I'm not going to spend money on that because it doesn't align with my vision of financial health for myself. To me, this is the most important step. You have to sit down and you have to decide for yourself, what does it look like and what does align with that. For me, it was the fastest way for me to start cutting things out of my budget that just don't align with my vision, right? Like the mani-pedis, I cut them out. Now, my sister cannot go a month without a mani-pedi. This girl is like, no, to her, that is part of her vision of a financially successful woman. She works in corporate. She cares very much that her appearance is, respectable, that is presentable. Her nails matter so much. For me, not so much. I make content a lot. My nails are never even in my videos, so to me and to her, our definitions are different, and that is okay. The point is, you need clarity. You need to have a very specific definition. And once you have that definition, the second thing I would do is I would actually sit down and create a matrix. And this matrix is, on one side is urgency, and on the other side is going to be the level of difficulty. If there's something in your financial life that is very urgent, and extremely difficult, that is the thing that you're going to be avoiding like the plague. Like you're going to be like, I don't want to do it. Back in my mind, tucking it away. Why? Because it's very difficult to do and it's urgent. So it's sort of like there's this tension there and you avoid it. To me, the easiest things to do are the things that are urgent and easy. For example, I'll give you an example. Everybody's been talking on social media about the hack, like, oh my gosh, everybody's social security numbers were hacked and America's information is out there. These computer hackers took our socials. Easy and urgent, freeze your credit. Like that is so quick. It takes 20 minutes, 15 minutes. It's easy to do. And it is pretty urgent since people's information might have been compromised, right? That's an easy one to do. Now, for me, when it's urgent and it's difficult, I would invite you to, the last thing I would tell you to do is recognize when you need to actually get help and get support. So that might be a financial coach, that might be a financial planner, that might be an insurance agent, right? Like Erica, you have to figure out like, who is that person who's going to actually push me to do that thing that I know is urgent and I know it matters so much to my financial well-being, but I don't feel that I'm able to do it on my own, or it's too difficult for me at this time. Don't be ashamed to get that help that you need. And so for me, those are I would say 3 things that I would do. Define for yourself what it means. Write that quick matrix down and figure out what are the things you've been avoiding, and then admit when it is that you need support and get the right support that you need to get it done.
I love that you touched on the aspect of accountability, because sometimes it is challenging to keep ourselves accountable, but that's what's beautiful about being, growing, and healing and becoming financially secure in community, is that the community can be your accountability partners. And our accountability partner today is Erica. And so Erica, let us know, like, what are some meaningful practices that you'd recommend for prioritizing financial self-care as a radical act of self-love?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Yaneli, but educating yourself, investing time in, education through books, online courses, speaking to financial advisors, understanding financial concepts and strategies can empower you to make informed decisions and improve your financial literacy. There's empowerment in knowledge. So, gaining financial knowledge and skills empowers you to make these informed decisions and assert your control over your financial future.
I love that you said informed decisions, because I think to my early days in my career, often being in a lot of spaces where I didn't know what I was doing, but I found myself in these amazing spaces working with the most incredible people. And I knew one thing about me: my grit factor was unmatched, because I will find the information and I will do what it takes, because I understood that knowledge was power, right? And so you just talked about knowledge. However, sometimes that knowledge can feel daunting, especially in our community. Erica, I would love to hear from you specifically, just when we think about the concept of life insurance, that may seem incredibly unfamiliar, that can be very daunting, because it's like, one, I don't know where to start, where do I go, what do I ask? Can you share an overview of what life insurance actually is and why it's such a vital part of holistic self-care practice? Because when you think of that, you don't put self-care and life insurance in the same category, but when we're talking about a holistic view, because that's what we really want to aspire to, right? It's not linear. How do those two converge?
Yeah, I mean, life insurance in its simplest form is just a financial tool that provides financial protection for your loved ones in the event of your death. And honestly, it doesn't have to be a loved one. It could be a charity. I mean, it could really be anything, an entity. If you have a trust, it can be that. And life insurance is a crucial self-care component. I mean, culturally speaking, we as Latinas have strong family ties and responsibilities, and life insurance ensures that your loved ones are financially protected if you are no longer, there to support them. So it's amazing. Now, if you're an entrepreneur or a business owner, life insurance can play a role in preserving and transferring business ownership or covering business debts, ensuring that the company's future is secure and that your legacy continues.
Okay. If anybody in the audience has questions about this, because when you just said that it can cover as well for business owners, I know we have so many business owners here. We know so many here that are mothers, that have families. Whatever questions you have, this is your safe space. This is where we will get them answered. No tengan pena. Another thing that I learned is that a closed mouth doesn't get fed. And you have to ask questions and you need to advocate for yourself. And so thank you, Erica, for giving us like making it simple, because sometimes these terms and it can feel so daunting. So I appreciate that. And Yaneli, I'd love to know, how would you describe it to give us an idea of what, insurance actually is and why it's so vital as part of a holistic self-care practice?
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing. When I didn't really understand the concept of life insurance, a good friend of mine, she explained it to me in a way that I'll never forget, because when I was growing up, my mom, she would always participate what we call susus. Some people call it sociedad, other people call it tandas. Okay, so in church, she would send me all around to all the people that she wrote down on a list for me, and I would be the one to like collect all the weekly dues after church on Sundays, and then I would give it to the next person that she circled on the envelope. And every time the next person received the envelope, it would be a round of money that each person had contributed. So like the idea of a lending circle. But that concept is actually an idea called pooling, which is how insurance works. Everybody pools together money by paying premiums every month. And then that premium is your ability to be able to say to the financial institution, the company that you're getting into a contract with, hey, listen, I'm paying my premiums. And in exchange, if anything were to happen to me, I'm going to let you know who my beneficiary is or who my beneficiaries are, because you can have multiple. And the money, that death benefit, is going to go to those beneficiaries or that beneficiary, as long as I've been paying my premiums. But you're not the only one paying your premium. There's all of these people paying premiums, pooling money together. And that to me is like such a beautiful concept, that like, just like we have created these sociedades and these tandas and these susus to like hold each other down as a community, that's pretty much the concept, is like, hey, the power of all of us pooling money together to take care of the people who need it when that event happens, or when that action kind of occurs, that they then need to dip into the money, is very powerful. Because me on my own, it's going to be very difficult for me to generate, millions of dollars in a decade or even two. Generational wealth, you need a generation at least or more to really create it. And to me, that's where life insurance is very powerful. And so I do think that if you have anyone in your life that depends on you for caretaking, for the money that you bring in, depending on you for anything, for their home, for security, for food, life insurance is a must, because that's really how you're going to be able to make sure that that is taken care of in the event that anything were to happen to you.
First of all, not you bringing up sociedades. You took
my
me
whole
back to my childhood.
Yes.
And thank you for that sort of analogy, because I feel like that resonated with so many people, and so many of us can think of our parents, our loved ones, our relatives kind of trying to pool those assets, right? Because money is an asset, life insurance is an asset. These are all assets that you can utilize to support your self-care. And thank you so much for distilling it in that way, because the moment you said sociedad and you said pooling, I was like, oh,
That's how it works.
that's how it works. And thank you again for reiterating the fact of collectively supporting ourselves, because culturally, and I've struggled with this as a people pleaser, recovering codependent, recovering somebody that wants to come and fix and save everybody. And we sometimes struggle with the idea of just putting ourselves first, right? And or perceiving self-care as a selfish indulgence. Growing up, you work hard and diligently, and you're like, that's the only way to then give to myself. And how can we take steps like exploring life insurance actually to be part of an act of selflessness and protecting our loved ones? How can we get better about putting ourselves first?
Yeah,
Erica, I'll
that's such
start
a
with you,
tricky one.
Erica.
Yeah, Erica, I want to hear what you have to say. This one is a tricky one.
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, obviously, as Latinas, we have all felt a bit selfish when it comes to prioritizing our own personal needs. I know I have, like, I'm like, oh, I could use this for my mom instead, or, and especially when it involves financial planning or self-care. However, life insurance can actually be profound act of selflessness. By securing life insurance, you're ensuring that your family will be financially supported in the event of your passing. So, life insurance is not just a financial product, it's a practical expression of love and care for your family. I mean, life insurance and financial preparedness, it reduces the potential financial strain on your loved ones. I mean, how many times have we seen people who've passed and their family has to do car washes, or they do something we call cremes, where they all gather together and have a potluck where they sell food because they need to be able to pay for their final expenses. And instead of being able to mourn your family, you're having to kind of work. And life insurance really helps you be able to comfortably mourn your loved one. It allows you to take care of your loved one even after you're gone. It's really beautiful.
Mm.
Love that. I love that so
Or-
much. I didn't even think about it that way.
Yeah, I'm just seeing things in a
Beautiful.
whole different light,
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
completely different light. So thank you both. Dile, Janely, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna add this little bit, which is really, I always thought of it. I agree, it's completely selfless, because what you're doing every single month, you're putting money into something that you are not meant to benefit from personally.
Mhm.
When I use money every month to put it into my 401k, that's because I know it's going to take care of me when I retire, right? That's just going to give me a dignified retirement. When I put money into my high yield savings account, is because I know that when I want to take my next trip, I'm going to have the savings to pay for my next vacation. It's going to come back to me personally and directly each time that I kind of put money into these different financial goals and buckets. But with life insurance, that's very different. Every single month, the premium comes out. I see it coming out of my account every month, but it's not for me. It's to make sure that the people that I love the most are taken care of. And to me, that's such a beautiful thing. I kind of view it differently. And I would say it's okay if it actually does end up coming back to you, and it is a little selfish in the end, because you will sleep better at night. I sleep better at night because I know that I'm not stressing like, ay, pero y si esto pasa, y if this happens or if that, and like, how's Tita gonna pay for this, and how's mommy gonna do that? Like, I know I have the answer. I know that they're not gonna have to worry, and so I can actually rest better knowing that they are going to be taken care of. So, it is very selfless, but I will say it's okay if in the end it comes back to you and gives you a little more peace and rest at night.
Oh, see, and that's one of the hurdles that we need to get through, that we need to work through, because somebody in the chat so eloquently put that, we struggle with putting ourselves first, because sometimes the same people that want us to be independent are the same ones that call us greedy, egoísta, and they make us feel guilty. And I think the important thing to recognize about that, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it before we get into Q&A, because now I'm getting a lot of questions and I can't wait to get those answered, but I'd love to get your perspective on us choosing me is not just a radical act of self-love for me, but by choosing me, I free myself and I show others around them how to choose themselves so they could free themselves. And that's really hard for us to do because, again, we have that guilt, we have that expectation. And I have come to terms with the fact that if my cup is overflowing, it's from there that I can give. Right. And I want to help our amigas here who are struggling with that guilt of putting themselves first. So what kind of beautiful, loving words can you share with them about loving themselves in spite of what people may think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a mother. I'm an auntie of 10. Okay. I'm like the world's best tia because
I love being a
my niece
tia.
I love being the rich auntie. Okay. I love it. But what I will say, I've learned so much about parenthood from not only my mom having 9 children and me being able to see her like raise her children, but then my siblings then having 10 children and then me observing them as parents. One of the biggest shifts that I've seen, and recently I saw this with my little brother. He has a 4-year-old, and I went to visit them, and he said to me out loud, he's like, Janelle, you don't understand. Like when you have a kid, and I know you don't have one, but when you have it, you'll realize everything shifts. And it's like no matter what, you will always worry about them. You will always be thinking about your kid. Like when you're outside in the park, you're worried that like, oh my gosh, what if somebody snatches up my kid? Like I gotta protect my kid. You know, you can't even like be like rest easy how you used to be before you had your baby, because now everything is about your child. And to
Mm,
me, that's why you have to be so selfish and you have to put the guilt aside, because it is always in the service of the ones that you love, which tends to mostly for a lot of Latinas be their children. And so I would say step into it, lean into it. Why does it feel guilty to take care of yourself when by taking care of yourself, you are giving your child a healthy, warm, loving mother who's in a good mental place? And by taking care of yourself, you're giving your mother a healthy, mentally stable daughter who she can rely on for advice and for help, who's financially stable. And you're giving your partner a healthy woman as a partner, and you're giving your best friends like a healthy BFF. Like by doing this, you are, like you said, Anna, like filling other people's cups. And so it's okay if you take that moment to be a little selfish, because put the guilt aside, it comes back to everyone that you love in a small way, because you are there for all of these people holding up your community. So I used to feel so much guilt, and now I kind of put it aside because I know that when I fill my cup, like you said, I'm filling others by doing that.
The more I love myself, the better equipped I am to love others.
Yeah.
Yaneli, you're taking us. I love it. I love it. Erica, any self-love talk, words before we get into Q&A, because these questions are coming in rapidly.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say, embrace the self-care. Don't be afraid of it. And, you know, take the first step to learning about different financial products. Don't be afraid to ask questions. No question is a dumb question. Don't feel intimidated. Financial advisors, agents, we're not here to judge you. So don't be afraid and spread that knowledge. It's not important just for you to learn, but it's also important for you to educate your family, because generational wealth doesn't just happen naturally. It doesn't happen by you getting a life policy. Yeah, no, you have to get a life policy. You have to educate your kids and then spread that education.
Okay. Preaching. I love it. Thank you. Okay, let's get into some Q&A. We got this beautiful question from Emily. I have life insurance through work. Is there a difference between that and one I would buy on my own from a company? So what are the differences between a life insurance policy through your employer and one that you buy on your own?
Yeah, so the main difference is that life insurance through your work, it is term group life insurance. So you really only have that coverage while you're employed with that company, right? So once you leave, coverage is gone. And so having your own policy, it allows you to have coverage completely separate from your work. And you're always going to have it as long as you're making your premiums, you keep that policy forever, even after retirement, where life insurance to work, you retire, you're not covered.
Mm. Okay, that's important, right? Because you can't expect to also be with the same employer forever and ever and ever and ever. So it's important that you protect yourself.
Yeah.
And it might not be enough. One of my old employers offered me life insurance, and I was like, oh, yeah, this should be good enough. And then when I sat down to look at the details of the plan, it was like life insurance up to $100,000 as a death benefit. I'm like, $100,000 is not going to be able to like replace everything that I would need to replace for my family. Think about people who want to help pay the mortgage, who want to, be able to help people in retirement, who want to help with medical bills, who want to help with, I mean, this is basically income replacement for all the time that you won't be there anymore. So if the amount is not sufficient, that also can be a problem as well.
Beautiful. Thank you both so much. Denise has asked, can you speak to the guilt that comes with being the first one in the family to make it? And attached, and the attached feeling of responsibility you have to help your family financially. Oof.
Oof, this one is so deep. I mean, for me, the guilt comes up for me today. I'm not gonna lie and say, oh no, the guilt goes away. It doesn't ever really go away because we have a heart and we're humans with hearts. And like I wish that I could bring every single one of my siblings with me. I wish I could bring my parents, especially my parents, the most. Like, traveling recently for my 35th birthday, I took an amazing, huge trip to Japan. And I'm like walking around the streets of Tokyo, looking at this beautiful place, like tears like filling my eyes. I'm like, I'm this like little girl from Brooklyn. Like, what am I doing in Kyoto, Japan? Like, why do I deserve this? And how come my mom and dad never got to see the world? Like it's gonna make me cry now, but like the idea that we get access to these amazing experiences and opportunities in our lives because they sacrifice so much, and yet they don't always get that. And I don't think it's ever going to go away. So I'm going to be real with you. It's always going to sit with you, even just a little bit. As you get, more successful, you of course will be able to help more and do more for your family. But you, at the end of the day, still have to make sure that you take care of your financial situation first, because you cannot help anybody else until you really have put all your ducks in a row. And that's a lesson I learned the hard way, because when I graduated college, my family was very quick to say, hey, Janely, like, we need you to help pay for Jesus's Catholic school tuition. We need you to help, this one pay for SAT prep. We need you to help pay for that one's textbooks and this. And I'm like, of course, yeah, here. Yeah. And at some point I looked at my credit card debt. I'm like, wait, hold up. I'm over here helping mommy pay for this one and that one. And those are not even my kids. Those are mommy's kids. Those are my little brothers. Those are not my kids. And I have to really make sure that I'm taking care of getting out of debt myself and putting myself in a position to be able to do more later, rather than putting band-aids on these little problems now. But long term, what am I really doing here? So I would say accept that the guilt is just a part of being the first in your family to be able to pave a new path, and that's okay. It's a beautiful thing actually when you sit with it, because it means that you're creating a new generational cycles. And for me, I kind of just have accepted it. I sit with it. I let the tears roll down my cheeks. I'm like, you know what? I just had a moment. That's okay. I love it. And just make sure you don't let it bog you down and get into a negative place, because guilt is a great incentive for you to switch how you're feeling and go into a place of gratitude instead of wallowing in that guilt.
Yes, thank you for sharing so vulnerably and so beautifully. I know that so many of us empathize with what you're experiencing, because that is a reality of it. And we see it as baggage, but I think it's how you choose to carry that. It's that mindset. Do you choose to see it as baggage? Do you choose to see it as an opportunity that perhaps the guilt comes from the lack of understanding, right? From your family. It's not that they're not proud of you. They probably are just in silent awe that they can't believe that you, coming from where you came from, were able to achieve the things that they only dreamed about. And so that should give you the ammunition to keep going, because you deserve to be in those spaces. You deserve to be in Kyoto, Japan. You deserve to have the wealth, because if you give that to yourself, and if you just truly feel like, I can do this for me, then you can do it for others. I feel you on so many levels. It's like I always say, I'm wealthy that I can take care of myself, but I'm not wealthy enough where I can bring my family on vacation yet. Right. But that's the goal, right? And
but one day. But
yeah, but one day. And carrying the guilt is only going to make the weight of the expectations heavier, and we don't deserve to put that on ourselves.
That's right.
We have enough to go through. Erica, any thoughts on, speaking to being the first in a family to make it?
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100% with Yaneli. I would just maybe add, like, don't be afraid to kind of say no if they're asking too much of you. It's going to be hard, but you have to kind of set boundaries up to a certain point. They need to learn how to help themselves too, and maybe guide them and teach them. But at a certain point, you have to eventually say no to certain requests from your family. I know that happens a lot. Once you make it, they're like, oh, can you pay for this? Oh, can you pay for my daughter's quinceañera, pues, ser madrina, things like that. And you're like, oh my God, what's going on? I haven't talked to you in years. So yeah, be okay with saying no too.
And I love that you also said on guiding them, because we're just navigating ourselves. It can be challenging to guide them, but how do you guide them? So like, and so this is a question that came in, is what can you expect then when working with a life insurance advisor? Because this is, as you said, Yaneli, earlier, we're not taught any of this in school. This is not information we receive, and this is why this space and this opportunity with Nationwide is so critical and important, because we're giving you this access of knowledge so that you can then make an informed decision. So when can you expect it to work with a life insurance advisor so that you can guide not just your family, but guide yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, if you don't know anything and you are completely embarrassed, don't be. I mean, a lot of us don't know. Our parents didn't know. Like, how are we supposed to know? So feel free to call and just be like, I don't know anything. Please just walk me. What do I need to know? Or you can tell us what you're expecting. Like, are you looking to pay for, your son's college, your kid's college? What do you want to do? Give us a guide, and we can walk you through the different products. We can walk you through different scenarios. Don't feel like any question is dumb or that you don't know enough to call in. We are here to help. It's life insurance and insurance in general is so weird. It's almost like a different language. So don't feel intimidated by it. It took me a long time to kind of grasp what I was working with. So don't feel embarrassed by asking questions or not knowing anything.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Erica, because I mean, I want to double down on that question. What is the process of obtaining? Like, what is the process? How long does it take? Like,
Mhm.
give us a picture so that the community can remove the potential confusion about it.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to getting life insurance quotes, at first it's very basic information. I mean, name, date of birth. It could take anywhere from like 15 minutes to 30 minutes, depending on how many questions you have, or if you already know what you want, maybe you don't. That will let us know how long it's going to take. I can, break down different policies for you if you really have no idea what you're looking for. But it's very simple. We do ask some questions about your health, but this is a judgment-free zone, and it's really to make sure that you would we're giving you the correct pricing. That way you're aware of the commitment you would be making.
I love that you said judgment-free zone, because I think one of the few things, many takeaways from this conversation, and I'm based on the feedback that I'm seeing in the chat, is take the judgment out of ourselves from asking questions as well. To take the judgment off of the expectations of who we need to be for our family, of how we need to show up for them, because that can also create confusion on our path and our journey, because we may often decide to make different decisions for the sake of pleasing the family, perhaps. And I'd love to, Yaneli, regarding your financial journey, like, what was that journey for you? How did you know this is the space you wanted to be in?
Oh my goodness. I just realized like I can't be the only one. I can't be the only one that is, in her mid-20s with a full-time job and still doesn't understand what the difference is between a stock and a bond, or what the heck is a mutual fund, and like how life insurance works, and why my credit card interest rate keeps changing. Like, what is going on? Like, I felt like this world is like a different foreign language. Like Erica said, like it feels like a foreign world. And I just was like, you know what? If I keep just figuring out for myself and keeping it to myself, then more and more people will keep repeating those mistakes that I know I've made and I've seen other people make. And at a certain point, like something's got to give. Like, when is it going to stop? When are we going to say, like, generationally, like, okay, this next generation is going to have the answers. They're not going to repeat all the same mistakes that the previous generation made and go down that same road, because they'll actually be provided with education and information, and they'll know. So for me, that's when I knew, like, it felt like I couldn't wake up and not talk about like access to financial education. Any day I would wake up, I felt like I had to talk about it, I had to fight for it, I had to push it. And that's when I knew, like, it was something bigger than just like a hobby, or like, a cutesy little Instagram that I started. Like, it was bigger. It was bigger for me. It was like really a call to action. And I knew that I could craft a career around it, that it was meaningful for me, that I could have success in it financially, but also that I could help so many people, that, my children's children one day, great grandchildren one day, will be sitting in a personal finance class because of the work that I'm doing to make sure that they get that education and that work that's happening now. So it, to me, like, felt right. But also I knew that there was nothing more powerful than women taking full control of their own financial situations, because I grew up in a home where it was very, very traditional. You know, a lot of Latin American families, but specifically in Dominican Republic, where my parents grew up, as a woman, you serve your man, and this is what you do. Okay, you cook for him, you clean for him, you take care of his babies that you give him, and this is what you do. And if you need money for something, you go tap him on the shoulder and beg him and tell him why it is that you need the money. And then if he feels like it, he'll give you that much or maybe a little more. And that arrangement, it didn't rub me the right way. I didn't like that. I didn't like that for mommy. I didn't like that for me. I don't like that for any woman, that you would have to be in a situation where you have to go and make a case. You know, this is, I need back to school supplies. I think it's going to cost this much. Like, if your kids need back to school supplies, go get your kids what they need. Like, you should, to me, I just felt like, oh my gosh, like, when is this all going to be over for women? Like, I grew up in the 2000s. How is it possible that I'm seeing things that feel like I'm talking about the 1940s? Like, that to me felt like, I know that women need this education and this empowerment, and I want to be a voice to help more women recognize that this isn't something that you push off to your dad or your brother or your husband. You can take a front seat and drive when it comes to your finances.
Yaneli, take a front seat. Okay, we are the Cycle Breakers Legacy creators, and it starts
Right.
with you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Erica, I don't know if you're seeing, but we're getting lots of questions. It is on and popping here. So I'm gonna get into it because people are now asking about more specifics. So one of the questions that came in is, what areas in my life should I consider when making decisions on which life insurance is right for me?
Yeah, I mean, there are so many different types of life insurance. I think you could have more than one policy. I think people don't know that. They think, okay, I'm only allowed to have one. No, you can have multiple. And I would say that sometimes might be the best fit for people because, you know, if you want to cover your mortgage, if you want to cover student loans, because, you know, government loans, if you pass away, you're good, right? But if they're private loans, you still owe them money even if you pass away. So things like that, I would say, you know, term insurance might be a really good fit, but if you want to leave money behind because you want to leave care for your family, or you want to have money for retirement, maybe a whole life or an index universal life policy might be a better fit, and maybe combining the two is perfect, and it'll really fill in all the gaps for you. So I think it's really writing down what you want from your life insurance. What are your goals? What do you want covered? And with that, we can always get started on creating a plan for you and seeing what works best.
Thank you. Mir has asked, how do we bring up the topic about saving for retirement with our parents without them thinking that we want to put them in a home or queremos herencia?
Oh my goodness. This is so funny, but it's like, I can picture my own mom's voice. Me quiere poner en un home. Me quiere poner en un home. It's like the threat of like, no, mom, I'm not gonna put you in a home, but I'm just trying to take care of you.
How would you bring
Oh
up
my
bring up
gosh.
the topic? How did you do it?
You know, what I always think is make it not about her and you, because for some reason, listen, our people, we love a good cheese man. Okay, we love when it's about somebody else, but don't make it about me. You know, they feel like, oh no, you're all up in their business when you talk about their situation. But if it's somebody else, they love it, right? The hot tea, pour it up. So for me, I brought up with my mom, like, oh, mira, fulana de tal, this other person, like my friend, like, her parents, when they were getting ready to retire, they didn't really have enough assets. Like, I think they only had like $5,000 in a bank account, and their whole family was like, they're trying to figure out how are they going to pay the mortgage? What are they going to do? Like, they're not working anymore, and there was no money, and they didn't have a plan. Like, isn't that kind of like scary? Like, I don't want us to be like them, you know, like I want us to talk about this before. And in that way, it removes the barrier of them immediately feeling like, we're not talking about my situation, that's private, you know. And I think it makes it about like another situation that's unfortunate that you don't want to repeat, and like, can we prevent that? Can we just always make it preventative? Like for me, That's what self-care is, or that's what self-care should be. It should be preventative, right? You're not
Mhm.
going to start doing skincare when you start seeing the wrinkles. You got to do the skincare before the wrinkles kick in, right? And so to me, it's like, how can we prevent these situations? And honestly, that's what life insurance is. It's a preventative care. So to me, have that conversation in a way that sounds like we want to create like a preventative care plan, and make it sure it comes from a place of love, not judgment, not, oh, like, mommy, you're not doing enough. Like, oh, pero si tú y papi hicieron esto diferente, if you guys had done something else, we would be better. No, none of those language, none of that words. Like, it's all about coming from a place of love, looking forward. What can we do from now on to be in the best possible position?
Okay, so let's talk about preparation, because you're right. It is about preventing. That's why for any of my skincare lovers, SPF will be what will save
Your
you.
best friend.
Make sure whether it's sunny or cloudy. Okay. And Lori asked, my dad has zero savings and refuses to get life insurance. My siblings and I are worried about having to take on that expense. I feel that. My father won't even engage the conversation of, I'm like, Dad, what would you like your plans to be, your transition plans? I know, mija, no vamos a hablar de eso. Like, the man does not want to discuss it. So what would you say? What would you say to him? Erica, I'm sure you faced this so many
Yeah.
times with children calling you when they have questions. What would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think at a certain point you just have to kind of tell them, like, I've seen it so many times where I've had señoras come into my office and they tell me, like, my husband passed away. I don't know how to drive. I had to take the bus here. I don't know how to pay the mortgage. I don't know what any documents are. Like, I have to get it. They're like in their 60s and they have to work for the first time ever. Why? Because the husband didn't get life insurance. And so now they're scared, you know. And so if they want to avoid putting their family in that situation, I think sometimes tough love is the might be the only route. Like, you can't, you know, uh, be light about it. You have to kind of sometimes just be like, look, what is mom gonna do if you're gone? Especially with Latinos, a lot of our moms don't work. So what is mom gonna do for money? Who's gonna take care of her if you're gone? And I think that's just something that needs to be said. You need to be upfront and tough, and it sucks, and you don't want to do that because they took care of you your whole life, but that's the same reason you should.
Mm.
I love that.
Okay. I just looked at the time and I was like, no, we are not, we're not, this is no way. There's no way we're at the end. And there's so many beautiful messages that are coming in of giving examples of leading from a place of vulnerability, of doing it from a place of love to be in the best position possible. And always, and Maribel, this one's great. And the opinion of working on ourselves and in sharing our journey and the benefits we've experienced with our loved ones to remove the taboo of talking about dinero and planning. Thank you both so much for this beautiful wisdom. Thank you, Anna, for the medicine. I can tell based on just even some of these comments that are coming in. Many are direct messaging me. Thank you. I see you, and we really want to thank not just Yaneli and Erica, but truly to our wonderful partners and Nationwide, and to all of you for joining, because I don't think you understand how your presence today speaks volumes about your love and commitment to yourself and to your self-care. It is so important that we have these conversations. By being here, you've already taken a very big step towards prioritizing your financial wellness. And if you'd like to take that step to the next level, because, you know, I'm all about commitment here. I like commitment. Okay. Schedule a free financial consultation with one of the Nationwide specialists. The link will be dropped in a chat. We really, truly cannot wait to see how you continue to grow, how you continue to thrive, how you continue to spread that message and that love to your families, to your loved ones. And do not forget, it is totally okay to love yourself, because self-care is not selfish. I appreciate you all. Amigas, thank you for being here. Yaneli, Erica, the Nationwide team, the We All Grow team. Thank you all. And if you have questions, let's continue the conversation on the Amigahood. Yaneli is an amiga. Erica's an amiga. We're here to support you and serve you. And thank you so much. And if you want to schedule a call, the link is being dropped. Thank you, everybody. Have a beautiful, beautiful day.